Swain.
Deep down the middle's got his man, and he's gone. Jason Swain, touchdown.
It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Give me 2 laps and a Ric Flair.
865-255-5503 is our telephone number. Swain Event fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. It is Tuesday, the best day of the week. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain. Hi, Ben. How you doing, sir?
Hi, Jason. I'm great. How are you?
Man, what a awesome morning it is here in East Tennessee. I hope you are having a great morning.
I hope you are as well. I bet I beat you up this morning.
You did? I bet you did. If you saying it with that much confidence.
You are notorious for waking up very, very early, but I think I may have beat you today. What time did you roll out of bed?
My alarm went off at 5:30.
Okay. My alarm went off at 5 and 5:10, and I rolled out of bed about 5:27. So did I beat you out of bed this morning?
Oh, you definitely beat me out of bed. I was on my phone. I woke up at 5:30, checking out what I missed from last night. It was raining, so it's a little bit harder to get out of bed. Oh, you definitely beat me out of bed, but it's
a lot going on this week. A lot going on. Got to get to work. Early bird gets the worm. There's a lot going on. Lindsey Nelson Stadium media tours to show off the renovations. Tennessee's got a big one tonight against Kentucky. Needs to serve up a little revenge.
Yes.
A lot going on. First pitch on Friday for the defending national champions, and boys, there are a lot of storylines there with the roster and starting lineups and pitching rotations coming out of their pizza series over the weekend. New uniforms, national championship logo going up on the outfield wall, new stadium, essentially. Just a whole lot going on this week. A whole lot going on. If you like multiple sports, this week is right up your alley. It's a fun week for Tennessee basketball as well. Not just Kentucky tonight, but you get Vanderbilt on Saturday. Another opportunity to serve up some revenge. So should be a fun week of Tennessee athletics. Lady Vols, couple big games coming up as well.
You cold?
Yes, I'm freezing, actually. Thank you.
You look homeless.
No, that's fine. You look 45.
Oh, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'm a man. I'm 40.
I'm cold. I'm cold. Leave me alone. It's cold outside this morning. It's raining. I'm unfortunately not even making the trip up to Lexington because.
Unfortunately, consider yourself fortunate.
To a certain extent, yes, but I would prefer to cover Tennessee and Kentucky in person inside of Rupp Arena than from home. But the Lexington area and south of Lexington is expected to get 6 to 8 inches of snow this morning and throughout the day. And the last place I want to risk it is 75 south of Lexington. The last place I want to risk it and get stranded is between the state line of Tennessee and Lexington. So I'm good. I'll cover from the house.
Yeah, there you go. It's going to be a good one, man. Tennessee, the first time, was able to play Kentucky without their point guard. The point guard will be back, it looks like, Lamont Butler, but they may be without the guy that torched us the first game, Jackson Robinson. And so
will be. He was ruled out on the availability report last night. I know there were some comments from Mark Pope going around that he was a game time decision, but About 30 minutes to an hour later, the availability report came out, and he was indeed ruled out. So Jackson Robinson, who has been their best player in SEC play, along with Otega Owe,
Yeah. Yeah.
he will not play because of a wrist injury he suffered in the South Carolina game over the weekend, and that's a big loss for Kentucky. He in SEC play, which, well, I mean, pretty big sample size at this point. We're a month and a half in, 15.7 points per game, I believe, in SEC play for Jackson Robinson, and he is shooting 47% from three.
Yeah, he was busting. He was busting in SEC play.
Is that what the kids say?
I don't know, but that's what I said.
That is what the kids say.
I thought they said that when there's something that's good, like food or something like that. But
well, when you're shooting that good, it applies as well.
I guess so. But this is good for Tennessee. They have to just go out there and execute and play like they played the last two games offensively. It's certainly been a difference when you look at Zakai Ziegler being out, Florida game. They have been better since Zakai came back. And so I asked Zakai a couple weeks ago, does he feel like the team will grow from him being out, him getting a chance to learn and seeing the ball move? And he was like, yeah. So he's been right so far. Let's see continue versus Kentucky. I know everybody's rooting for Trey Smith in the Super Bowl. I know it's hard to only see one Tennessee Vol competing in a Super Bowl, but he about to get paid a lot of money. I think Kansas City understands how valuable he is and how they need to invest more in the offensive line because they got pushed around. It's why I picked the Eagles to win. That's what I thought would happen. I didn't think it would be that bad, but I thought that would happen. And congratulations to Buckhorn High School alum Kari Blasingame. When you got married, he was there, and we've seen him kind of bounce around the league a little bit. And man, he was out there. I saw him out there opening up holes for Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl. So, man, super happy for him. I know you're really proud of him as well.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was really, really cool. And we don't have, as you get older, you hear people say it when you're growing up, and especially when you get to high school, that I know it feels weird to hear or think about now, but a lot of these people that you're hanging around and are friends with now, you're going to have different friends as you get older, and your circle is going to get much smaller. And Kari is one of the few friends that I still communicate with on a regular basis, and from high school, and one of my guys that I consider one of my closest friends. And he is within that small group of high school friends that I think a lot of us have at this point in our life as you get further and further removed from high school. And so it was cool to see him have that success. I was very happy for him and his family. His parents are just wonderful people. His beautiful wife, and he's got two little girls as well, and a newborn. I mean, he was cut by the Bears and got picked up by the Eagles, and had to spend the holidays away from his pregnant wife, and she was about to give birth and had to go back home quickly out of the blue, and everything went smooth there, and then had to go back to Philly and was away from the newborn, which I imagine was not a fun experience. I know for a fact it was hitting home for him. So I was happy that he was rewarded with the trials and tribulations that he had to go through this season with a Super Bowl ring. And he can now forever be called a Super Bowl champion, and cool for my high school, especially when I was there. We've got a World Series champion in Kyle Wright, and now a Super Bowl champion in Kari Blasingame, and a good old internet blogger who's pestering Swain on Tuesday and Thursdays here on the Swain Event. So I appreciate you recognizing him. I know he's always respected you and appreciated you for the support that you've shown him from afar as well. And maybe we can get him here on the show here within the next couple of months to talk about what it's like to play in the Super Bowl, the weeks leading up, and what it's like in the locker room before you go out there. And he was on the opening kickoff, which is pretty dang cool to say that I was on the field during the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl. I'm really happy for him and really, really proud of him as well. I cannot hear you. I don't know if it's a me problem, but your volume just went out for me.
All right. Great. It was all good to go, man. It just did that.
Just means it's a good time to take a quick break here on the Swain event and allow you to get your audio working and running in the right direction. So we're going to step aside.
Maybe it's
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I spent the weekend trying to diagnose the issue. I think I know what it is now, but anyways.
Technology, baby.
Yeah, I know. I think I know what it is. But what we learned during the Super Bowl, Ben, that was the question I have for you. What did we learn?
Oh, I didn't learn anything. It just reinforced what we saw throughout the college football playoffs and in that game with Ohio State and Tennessee, and what we saw from Ohio State following the Tennessee win was that defense wins championships. And that's the first thing that Jalen Hurts said one of the first things he said in his post-game press conference. Not post-game press conference, but right after the game ended, he had his interview. I forget with which reporter. Maybe it was Aaron Andrews, but as soon as the game was over, one of his first comments was that defense wins championships. Yep. And there's going to be a lot of discourse about Patrick Mahomes and this, that, and the other. And Patrick was not good. Don't get me wrong. That was weird to see Patrick play that way. But Patrick's biggest issue was his offensive line and the lack of protection in front of him. I mean, the Eagles were getting home with 4 rushers. They weren't even bringing extra rushers.
Zero.
It was what Tim Banks tried to do at Ohio State, and it did not work for Tim Banks, unfortunately. But it worked for the Eagles, and there's going to be a lot of chatter about Patrick Mahomes dropping the ball and choking and this, that, and the other. But hard for me to watch that game and not look at the protection and just how little protection there was and how it impacted his play. The Chiefs could not block the Eagles, and that is why the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And to bring Tennessee into the fold or to tie it into Tennessee, I mean, that's where Tennessee's got to get better. We saw it in the Ohio State game, and it rung throughout the college football playoffs, throughout the NFL playoffs, in the Super Bowl, and it's the area in which they need to continue to improve. They need to find more consistency from its defensive line in the big games, and obviously the offensive line conversations are well documented at this point. So I don't know that I learned anything, Swain, to be honest with you. Just reinforced the point that the trenches is what wins championships.
No, 100%. I mean, it is what wins championships, and it's always been that way in football. It doesn't matter what system you run, what scheme you run. At the end of the day, you know, it is about the trenches, period, point blank. I thought the Super Bowl proved to not only Tennessee football fans, but fans all over, football fans, period, is it doesn't matter what plays you run. It doesn't matter what offense you run. You can have an up-tempo offense. You can have a spread offense. You can have a pro-style offense. You can huddle. You can no-huddle. Like, it just doesn't matter. If you can't protect, it affects everything. Think about the times last season for Tennessee. Think about those times when we would discuss what was talked about amongst Vol Nation about the play calling from Tennessee, how it looked totally different from 2022. And yes, I think it certainly looks different, but the last 2 years, the offensive line has affected play calling. Where's the deep shots? Well, you got to have time to execute the deep shots. So what Sunday taught me, and Andy Reid's one of the best offensive minds in the history of football, period. Period. Andy Reid, play sheet got smaller, got shorter because of the pressure. 2 years ago, when the Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers, it was the same thing. Oh, I guess Andy Reid forgot how to call plays. I guess he forgot about football. No, it was the defensive front for Tampa Bay. It was the defense that gave Patrick Mahomes trouble. And the defense was so impactful in that Super Bowl that the conversation about Patrick Mahomes just totally changed. The narrative totally changed. It went from, oh, can he be the GOAT? Is he the GOAT if he wins to, let's not bring up GOAT anymore. No, you can still talk about it because Patrick Mahomes has plenty of football left. His first 7 seasons compared to Tom Brady's first 7 seasons, Patrick Mahomes is still better. But that's what the Eagles defense did to that narrative because people get caught up in thinking that it's just about the quarterback. And it's not just about the quarterback. We've heard these comments made about Nico this season. We've heard the same comments made about Joe Milton previous seasons. We've heard the conversation about other quarterbacks that was affected by poor offensive line play, by poor protection, and it caused the offensive coordinator to be more conservative and not call plays and make the quarterback look one way. So that's the lesson, in my opinion. One of the lessons from the Super Bowl is protection or lack thereof affects play calling. It doesn't matter at what level. It can be high school, it can be college, it can be pro. It affects play calling, and it affected it in the Super Bowl.
Well, and to your point about Andy Reid and people on him as if he forgot how to call plays, as if he's not, like, in that game, Andy Reid was still the best play caller in football. It wasn't working for him on that night, but what plays are you supposed to call when your offensive line isn't protecting a soul? Like, there is nothing you can do offensively when that is the case. And just I think it also bleeds into a conversation about us as sports fans. It's a much larger conversation and way off topic, but just the overreaction to things is what I'm getting at. I mean, Nick Sirianni, how many times did Eagles fans want him fired throughout the season? I mean, he's arguing with fans in the middle of games this season. And, I mean, Ryan Day as well. The 2 football coaches that won championships this season, were 2 of the most scrutinized and criticized coaches in both of their respective sports throughout the season amongst their own fans and outside of Philadelphia and Ohio as well. But people were adamant that Ryan Day could not get over the hump, could not coach, could not lead. Same conversations around Nick Sirianni. And now look at him. I mean, does Nick Sirianni all of a sudden get credit because the Chiefs could not block Josh Sweat? I mean, is that great coaching or is that bad coaching? Because when Josh Sweat isn't sacking the quarterback and whooping up on the tackles, Nick Sirianni needs to be fired. And now when Josh Sweat is getting after the quarterback, nobody says a word about Nick Sirianni. And he's a Super Bowl champion. And he'll always have that title. I mean, we kind of look at Doug Peterson differently now with that Jaguars roster than we did look at Doug Peterson when he had the Eagles roster and winning the Super Bowl. So it's just, I think it goes back to, I think you and I talked about it after some of the recent basketball losses. It's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. And it's, sports are so emotional that there's so much overreaction. But I feel like Ryan Day and Nick Sirianni winning the championships this year are a good reminder of maybe we do too much as sports fans sometimes, a lot of times.
Yeah, definitely. 865-255-03. All right, let's take a quick little time out here. We'll come back here.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Hey there, Swain Event family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. Many of you have trusted me over the years to help you with your real estate needs. And to show my appreciation, I'll be doing a few giveaways this spring. The first one is 2 UT baseball tickets for March 9th versus St. Bonaventure. All you have to do is give me a follow on Instagram at Fountain City Realtor. That's FTN City Realtor. Ben will announce the winner on Thursday, February 13th on Swain Event. And as always, you can reach me for your real estate needs anytime at 865-694-5904 or visit my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Go Vols!
Out-of-town law firms have been swarming into East Tennessee lately. From Memphis, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, they've stormed into the area. Wouldn't you rather do business with a local firm? You know, a true neighbor. Marcos Garza and the pros at the Garza Law Firm are just that. There are neighbors and friends that support local causes year-round. The Garza Law Firm works to serve you professionally on criminal matters, injuries and accident matters, and Social Security and disability filings. The Garza Law Firm is here for you at garzalaw.com. The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Jennifer Morris here with Keller Williams Realty. Spring is on the way, and that means the March Madness version of real estate is on the horizon. If you're in the home buying or selling mindset, don't wait until you're filling out your brackets to reach out. Get prepared and get in the game now. Call me at 865-694-5904 or visit my website at nextmovesmokymountains.com. Hope to hear from you soon, and go Vols!
Fellas, let's talk about getting back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feeling moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T levels, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. But guys are not all the same, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT program. Learn about the personalized treatment at Low T Center and the results you can expect with customized TRT. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book an appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America, 865-250-503, Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live from the Low T Center studio. Joe Lenardi has Tennessee as the number one seed. For me, that's all that matters. Is where Tennessee is seeded, how Tennessee is playing, and where Tennessee is playing. But how much sense does it make that Tennessee won both games last week and dropped in the rankings? Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Prioritize.
Say it again.
It depends on what you prioritize, because it really boiled down to Tennessee and Florida when you look at it. I was fine with Auburn. In the coaches poll, they stayed at number one, I believe, which I was fine with. We do a SEC poll at 247 every week, in which we rank the 16 SEC teams, and I kept Auburn at number one. I think they're by far the best team in the country, and by far have the best resume as well. And I hate this logic that we have to drop teams just because they lost a game. So in my poll that I get to vote on, I did not apply that logic because I do not believe in it. So I was fine with Auburn not dropping past number two in the AP poll, Alabama being number one, whatever. They were towards the top as well. And because we have to drop a team when they lose as the number one team, Alabama got the benefit from that. Duke slid to number 4, which helped bump Tennessee back, but it was really Florida that jumped Tennessee for beating Auburn. And that's what I mean by it depends on what you prioritize, because, I mean, which team between Tennessee and Florida deserves to be ranked higher than the other? Because on one hand, Florida did beat Tennessee by 30 last month and did something this past weekend that Tennessee was not able to do so by winning at Auburn.
No one.
Tennessee won the most recent game, shorthanded, which was very impressive, and won by, 20 points or so, whatever the final margin ended up being. And Tennessee beat number 15 Missouri last Wednesday night and beat Oklahoma down on Saturday, swept both of its games, won the most recent matchup in impressive fashion with Florida, but Florida has also beaten Tennessee and has the more impressive win and did something that Tennessee was not able to do and was able to win at Auburn. So which one? I don't know which one to take, if I'm being honest, because I think Tennessee is right for feeling the way it does in regards to the rankings in terms of if you were siding with Tennessee, and I think if you side with Florida, I think you're right in feeling the way that you do as well. I don't know which team to take over the other in terms of ranking them in the top 5.
Yeah, Florida should be ranked ahead of Tennessee based on what they were able to do on the road against Auburn. Like, and the way they won, like they controlled the game for most of the game. So it doesn't bother me that Florida is ranked ahead. It doesn't really bother me that Tennessee fell back a spot. I just think it's weird, and but that's
the concept is very weird.
It's college basketball, whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's about how you play at the end of the season and what Tennessee is going through right now with this gauntlet, and then the SEC tournament. It's going to prepare Tennessee to make possibly a better run in the NCAA tournament than they made last year, and a better run than last year would mean a Final Four. Like, Tennessee is in a better position when you look at this team, how they're battle-tested defensively, offensively, how they've looked the last 2 games. Like, there was a concern about 2 weeks ago about this offense being. But Zakob going out, Igor's emergence, they have unlocked something offensively. And if they continue to play this way, then Tennessee is a real threat to hit the Final Four. There's no Zach Edey in the way. Like, the best player, the most dominant player, and he's not Zach Edey, is Cooper Flagg. But he's no Zach Edey when it comes to the dominance that we saw last year from Purdue. Broom is the National Player of the Year candidate. I mean, it's between those 2 guys. And we played against him. And he was certainly effective. He was productive. He was impactful. But I wouldn't say he was dominant, and there's no way he would be dominant like a Zach Edey. So, like, Tennessee got some things going for him right now.
I think so as well. I want to get your thoughts on something I picked up, or at least I thought I picked up. It was one of my takeaways from the Oklahoma game on Saturday, and that was the play of Chaz Lanier. I thought Chaz was terrific. He didn't score. He has scored more points in other games this season. He has made more threes in other games this season. But I thought his overall game, I thought it was as good of a performance as he has had all season when you account for everything he did. I thought he was as aggressive as he has been all season. He did not hesitate in terms of driving to the basket and in terms of shooting the basketball. If Oklahoma had a hand down, he facilitated on a couple of different plays. I thought Chaz was phenomenal. And I was talking to somebody within the program, like mentioning what I'm mentioning now about Chaz, about how I thought he was just exceptional in the first half. And the person said, yeah, Chad's starting to figure it out.
That's what Rick said.
Huh?
That's what Rick said? I'm just joking.
No, I didn't talk to Rick about it.
I'm just joking.
But the person was like, no, Chad's starting to figure it out. And that is, if that is the case, again, Chaz needs to build some consistency with the adjustments that he has had to make at this level. And it's not as if he was playing bad basketball. It was just there was no consistency from him. And to a certain extent, he was a one-trick pony. He was not a one-trick pony at Oklahoma, and that was against a bad Oklahoma team, I feel like, and an Oklahoma team that was not playing with effort, an Oklahoma team that quit. I mean, I had a different person in the Tennessee program tell me that, like, the Oklahoma players were saying to the Tennessee players during the game, like, leave us alone. Just go ahead and leave us alone. We don't want anything to do with this.
Come on,
like
man.
They were
voicing. No, they didn't. Dan.
Yes, they did.
No, man. Oklahoma players wasn't doing that.
They were.
Leave us alone.
Yes, leave us alone. We're not trying to deal with all this. Like, they were uncomfortable with how Tennessee was defending them, applying ball pressure. They wanted nothing to do with Tennessee on Saturday, especially once Tennessee got up big. Wanted nothing to do with them.
Well,
so we'll see. Like, that Chad should have performed that way against that Oklahoma team is what I'm getting at. Big test for him to see if he can build off of it tonight against Kentucky. But I thought he was phenomenal in terms of how he moved off the ball, and he you could tell that he was not thinking, and I thought that was a great sign and a testament to the fact that I think he is starting to figure things out.
Yeah, he was more aggressive cutting to the basket. He was more aggressive going to the basket when he was like, if you're a shooter, they can't stop you from shooting it and driving to the basket. And so there's back cuts, there's other opportunities that should be open for you to make plays and Chad took advantage of. 865-255-03. All right, Ben. The pizza series. What's all that about?
The pizza series is, it is. The winner typically gets pizza. Now, they have switched up the meals in recent years. I believe in the past they've gotten steak if you win, and the losing team gets like beans and hot dogs. So it's essentially a better dinner on the line, and for simplicity's sake, they just keep the pizza series as the name of it, even if the winning team does not specifically get pizza. But it's a mock game weekend, and it's the weekend before opening weekend. It allows the pitchers to throw and make sure that they are in line with, if you're a starter, in line with the day that you will throw the following weekend. So like Liam Doyle, who is going to be Tennessee's Friday night guy this year on the mound, he threw on Friday afternoon, which sets him up to throw this Friday afternoon. Marcus Phillips is going to start game 2. I'd be surprised if he does not. He pitched on Saturday, started on Saturday when they scrimmaged around noon at the same time as basketball was tipping off. And then that sets him up for this Saturday. And even the pitchers who are not throwing, or not starting, I should say, they make sure that they are being built up and ready to go for opening weekend as well. And it's just as important for the hitters, of course. Baseball is such a routine sport, and you need to keep swinging the bat and receiving at bats, get your timing down as a hitter. So it's a mock game weekend, which is very, very important in the sport of baseball, to be playing games and seeing live hitters, live pitchers. So that's what the pizza series is it's a mock game weekend, and the winner gets a better meal than the loser. And I thought Tennessee had a very, very productive weekend.
I remember those days, man. I remember those days. Those days of having scrimmages, and the losing team had to eat like hot dogs and hamburgers. And then the winning team got a chance to eat like the steak. Like I remember that. And so we usually did that during the orange and white game. Long time ago. And don't see that coming back anytime soon, because more and more coaches are kind of looking past spring games and don't see the value of just having a game. I saw where Nebraska was not going to do a spring football game. So miss those moments, man. Miss those opportunities to have those bragging rights and compete. Are you able to tell the big difference inside of the stadium with some of the renovations? How does it look from your vantage point?
It looks awesome. It is really, really cool to see. And I really don't mention this to toot my own horn, but it's awesome to think of how far the program has come. Because when Tony got here, as everybody knows, I mean, it was the bare minimum. Just go look at the photos that Tennessee Baseball has posted on its X account within the last week or two, from when they got turf in, I think in 2019. And then I also think that they posted some throwback photos in a separate post of Lindsey Nelson Stadium to where there were picnic tables down the left field line and a parking lot in left field for a lot of football players parked there, but I think anybody could have parked there.
And former players that like to park there when coming on campus.
Yes, it wasn't only football players and students who love to park there as well. I
parked there too?
A couple of. Now it was my last resort because I didn't want to end up with a foul ball through my windshield. But it was a last resort if G10 or any of the other G parking lots were full. But no, you can tell a noticeable difference, and it's just really cool to, when we were walking around with the media tour yesterday, it was just really cool to think back to where we started from the bottom, and now we're here truly, because there's a picnic tables and parking lots, which irked Tony Vitello to the nth degree, and the right field line, I mean, it just had a bullpen in it, and then just like a garage of cages, and now it's you can see the vision coming together, and I think it gets you really excited for the future of Tennessee baseball on top of what they've already accomplished. And I was obviously already really excited for the season. Baseball is my favorite sport just in terms of the pureness of it, the origins of the sport. It's what I played. It was my favorite growing up playing. My favorite sport to play is what I'm trying to say. And so I was naturally excited for baseball this weekend. I think anybody who is aware of what I do knows that I do love baseball. That's no secret. But so I was already excited for opening weekend. But just to be up there and see the new press box after some of the ways in which I've had to cover games at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, going back to my student journalist days, and then COVID and having to cover them outside. And now to have a real deal press box was really cool. And this year's press box is going to be temporary until they finish with the main tower, and then they're going to slide everybody down to the left towards the third base side. So even next year, we're going to be pretty much right behind home plate. It's a fantastic view. It just looks awesome. You could really see the vision of the coach's office being expanded, the suites that are going in, the press box and the game day operations booths and the radio booths. It's just all going to be first class and top notch. And it's just exciting to see the vision. You can see a huge difference right now. The student section that's going to be down the right field line and right next to the bullpen, and they're going to have standing room only area behind them, which Tennessee feels like it's going to be able to fit up to 1,000 more students in that area behind their seats, which is going to be epic for NCAA tournament games, regional games, super regional games. And that's on top. The right field corner of students is on top of the standing room only that you already had out in left field. That was awesome this past postseason. And they're going to have their own concessions and bathrooms down the right field line. The concourse has been renovated, although there's going to be still construction going on throughout the season. If you make your way over there for a game, they're essentially going to be working around Tennessee baseball games. Construction is not going to stop, so you're probably going to see construction workers leaving as games are starting or as fans begin to arrive. So the entrance is still quite a bit of work in progress, but you can just see the vision. And even if you were already excited about Tennessee baseball and baseball season being back like I was, being over there and just seeing the vision and seeing what it is going to be and just how awesome and nice it is going to be and how terrific of an environment it is going to be, especially for postseason games, it got me even more excited, and I think fans that go to games this weekend and in the coming weeks, they're going to feel the same way.
Let me go to the phones, 865-255-03. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
What's up, Turkey Man?
Hey, doing well. I hope you guys are doing well. And I've had a couple questions I was going to ask on both of you, really. I seen the Super Bowl, and I feel like that the Eagles give a blueprint of how to win a championship to any team that wants to take and look at it, because it was complete from offense, defense, special teams, and I feel like that that is something that we could do. We have the pieces in place. If we put them in place, I could see Tennessee being that blueprint. That was my take of that. On baseball, I'm anxious to always the catcher and pitcher. Of course, that's always the game. If you got a good catcher and you got good pitching, you can make it a long ways. But what amazed me last year, Ben, what really I think was the ticket to us having success offensively, especially, was how Tony put the right pieces in place, that it was hard not to pitch to them. You had to pitch to your leadoff man. Was actually the leadoff man. He's going to get on. He was going to get on base, and it was hard not to. You couldn't pitch around him, because if you pitch around him, he's going to get on base. The way he set up the card, and batting order I think was really good. And can we duplicate that? And pitching and catching, of course, defensive, you got but especially pitching, catching, and that particular offensive of setting the card, that it's hard not to. You can't pitch around them. And I'll get off and listen, guys. Enjoy you guys, and I hope you have a good rest of the week, and talk to you later.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks, Turkey Man. Appreciate you calling in. Hope you're feeling better than you were last week. And sure. I definitely agree with your football points that Tennessee needs to follow the blueprint that the Eagles showed in the Super Bowl. And
everybody needs to follow that blueprint. Same blueprint
yes.
Alabama and
yes.
Georgia has laid out, the last decade and a half of having the trenches locked down offensively and defensively. And so when you look at, Turkey Man said that he feels like we have, some of the pieces. And, like you look at the defensive line and you got that, right? But offensive line, that still is a question. And you look at the Eagles, they lost Jason Kelce, who's a Hall of Famer, and look what they've been able to do losing him. When you look at the Eagles' offensive line, Jeff Stoutland is their offensive line coach. He is the hero with that coaching staff, because look at how Saquon is able to run, and look at the protection that Jalen Hurts had all season long and during that Super Bowl. So offensive line, defensive line, that's the key. And it's always been like that. It's no secret. It's always been like that. The teams that have the best offensive defensive line, more cases than not, has the best chance to win. Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
No, you're totally fine. Totally fine. Always cut me off and take over. People want to hear you talk, not me, of course.
I like hearing you talk, too.
But I guess it just feels it hits home more for us, because obviously we follow Tennessee football so in depth, and we just saw all the areas in which the Eagles crushed the Chiefs, which we've seen with all the championship teams, as you pointed out, for the last several decades, but it just feels like it hits home more this offseason because of how we saw Tennessee struggle against Ohio State and in some other games like Georgia. But I certainly agree with you there. I do think, Turkey Man, to answer your baseball question real quick, that Tony is going to have plenty of options. There were plenty of options last season. You never know how good of a team is going to be until they actually start playing. We've seen the defending champs in the past, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, turn around and not even make the tournament the following year. LSU did make the tournament last year after winning it before Tennessee did, but even LSU wasn't quite what LSU baseball typically is. So you never really know until the games start being played, and we won't really know how good this Tennessee team is until SEC play gets rolling. But I feel like they have a chance to be just as dangerous. It's going to look a little bit different, I think. The offense is going to be really good, but I don't know that it's going to be as explosive as last year's offense. I think it will be in the sense of home runs, but just from top to bottom, I just there's so many question marks with some guys in the lineup that have a ton of potential, but is that potential going to come to fruition once SEC play starts rolling and as you creep towards the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament? But I think even if the offense takes a slight step back, and again, we were talking about the best offense in college baseball last year. Tennessee's still going to have a top 5, top 10 offense. I'm not suggesting that it won't, but there's going to be a natural drop-off just because of how good the offense was last year. And like to your point about the leadoff man, it was Christian Moore, the best player in college baseball last season. I don't care about Jack Caglione. I don't care about Charlie Condon. Christian Moore was the best player in college baseball last year. Should have won the Golden Spikes Award. Should have been SEC Player of the Year. He was leading off for you. And now it's going to be Dean Curley, and I love Dean Curley. I don't think Dean Curley is Christian Moore.
He's no Christian Moore.
So there's going to be a natural drop-off, but it's going to be still a top 5, top 10 level offense that is ultra explosive. Tony's going to have a ton of options. I'll touch on that here in just a moment. But where you gain, even if the offense takes a natural step back, just a smidge, the pitching staff, I feel like, is going to have more depth and more explosiveness in its own right. I feel that Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson and the pitching staff are going to have more options, both to start games, in the bullpen. So maybe what you lose a little bit with the lineup, you're making up with on the mound. And I think this defense is going to be really good as well. They're very, very athletic. They can do a lot of different things. They can save a lot of runs. So it's going to be a really good team from top to bottom. Once again, the floor is super regional weekend. Ceiling is winning the national championship. My expectation is at minimum for this team to get back to Omaha. There's too much talent for that not to be the expectation. And with the lineup real quick, Swain, Tony's going to have a lot of options because you have a nice core of veterans with Dean Curley and Hunter Ensley and Andrew Fisher transferring over from Ole Miss, Gavin Keelan transferring over from Louisville. Your top 4 is pretty much set in stone. I'm interested to see how they do the lineup for the first several weeks of the season. Cannon Peebles is going to be in there. But you have a freshman class that is special, quite frankly. And you saw it over the weekend in the Pizza Series with Jay Abernathy, with Chris Newstrom, Levi Clark, just insanely talented freshmen, Manny Marine. All these kids deserve to be on the field, even as true freshmen. That's how naturally talented they are. And Tennessee avoided the draft with all 4 of them, and were very nervous during the draft process that somebody would snag them, but they were able to make it to campus, and that they are 2- and 3-year type of players, just depending on when they are draft eligible and gone. So they're going to be competing for at-bats, and there's just a ton of options, and that's on top of Dalton Bargo and Reese Chapman and Kobe Backus and so many guys that are also returning. Stone Lawless is a youngster in his second year who had an awesome weekend, hit 2 home runs, crushed 2 home runs. He deserves a lot of at-bats as well. So it's going to be a fun offense to watch, and Tony's going to have no shortage of options, which is always a good thing in the sport of baseball.
Let me ask you this, man. How do you, if you're Tony Vitello and you got a ton of guys that are good enough to play and start other programs, and you have a championship program, and they you know the deal when you pick a school. Like, you pick a school that's winning, there's a lot of competition, and like you know that going into it, but when you get there and you feel like you are giving your best shot and you're working as hard as possible and you feel like you have played well enough to play, but you're not. How do you manage all the talent? How do you keep the guys engaged? How does Tony handle this talented group where there's only a limited amount of guys actually playing?
Yeah, it's a really difficult task, but somehow Tony Vitello has mastered it, because this has been a question and not issue. It's a great problem to have, and Tony's dealt with this problem the last several years, and I think it just goes back to it's all for the greater good. And if you're not going to be willing to commit to the greater good, which is winning baseball games any way possible, then you're just not going to work out at Tennessee. I think it's why you saw Chase Burns move on to Wake Forest. It's why he didn't jive all that well with the program. He was more worried about himself than the collective group and winning, and that's why he left. And there have been others as well. Tennessee baseball has a great culture, but the culture isn't for everybody. Just like Rick Barnes' culture is not for everybody. You kind of get in or you get out. And I do believe, I'm sure there are families out there that if they heard this, they would disagree. But I feel like Tony does a really good job of giving everybody equal opportunities. He does not care about feelings. He's going to give you opportunities to earn jobs, to earn playing time, to earn at bats, to earn innings. And if you play hard, if you are competitive, if you deliver good at bats, work quality at bats, if you throw strikes, you're going to play. So there is a culture of this is all for the greater good. We're going to set our individual aspirations to the side with the understanding that if we win, all of our individual aspirations will be accomplished along the way. So I feel like just from the jump, that is the expectation that is laid out in recruiting. It's the expectation that Quentin Eberhardt, the strength coach, follows through with over the offseason, that you're all in or you get out. And then along the way, I feel like he does a great job of creating competition and letting the competition who is going to play. I mean, I can't think of a scenario in which, I mean, you have talked about quarterback battles in the past where a quarterback was awarded the starting job and the locker room disagreed with who should be out there. That doesn't happen with Tony. He gives you ample opportunity, and your play on the field is going to dictate whether you earn more opportunity from there on.
865-255-03 is our number to the Swain Event hotline. BeattyChevrolet.com is the website. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle, hit up the Beatty Chevrolet text box. Jennifer Morris, excited to see Lindsey Nelson in all its glory. That thing used to look like the field from The Sandlot. And speaking of Jennifer Morris, make sure you go follow her on Instagram, because on Thursday we're giving away 2 tickets, 2 baseball tickets. So make sure you got today, you got tomorrow, you got Thursday morning before the show, and Ben is going to announce 2 winners, or 1 winner, 2 tickets for the St. Bonaventure game a little bit later in the season. So Jennifer Morris giving away 2 tickets. Ball fan on the Betty Chevrolet text box. The SEC that will do the best in the NCAA tournament will be the team with the fewest teams in their part of the bracket. With possibly 13 SEC teams getting in, there will be a large group of teams that know each other well, have played each other multiple times this year, and any one of those teams can beat each other on any given day. I just hope that we don't see any SEC team in the tournament. It's hard to beat any team twice, much less 3 times, especially second basketball teams this year, is what Vol fans said. Well, when you have 13 teams entering the NCAA tournament, it's going to be hard to avoid playing an SEC team.
Yeah, I did notice. I think Volfan is spot on here. That ideally you'd like to avoid some of these SEC teams and avoid opponents that know you so well. I mean, even just in terms of the familiarity, look at Tennessee, Texas last year before Texas was in the SEC. That game just was – there was not a lot given offensively or defensively because of Rodney Terry and his staff's familiarity with Rick Barnes, and Rick Barnes and his staff's familiarity with Rodney Terry and Chris Ogden and that staff. So I agree. Like, you absolutely would like to avoid rematches with SEC teams that know you so well, not only because you played them this season, but I think Bruce talked about this prior to the Auburn-Tennessee game, and I think Rick talked about it as well. You know what to expect. They've coached it against each other for a decade now. Like, you know what you're getting with Rick's Tennessee program. You know what you're getting with Bruce's Auburn program. It's going to come down to of course, coaches will need to make adjustments, and the personnel does change, so there are different areas that you can maybe attack year in and year out. But overall, you know what you're going to get. So it's going to come down to players executing. Yeah. And in the final 2 minutes on the Plains, Auburn executed with a call or two better than Tennessee executed. So you would like to avoid those matchups because it can really just be a flip of the coin. The point that I was trying to mention before I got long-winded again was that I did feel like in Joe Lunardi's latest bracket that he had at the end of last week, where he thought Tennessee solidified a number 1 seed with the win over Missouri. Also, I was going to tell you this earlier when you brought up Joe Lunardi. Be careful. That triggers Tennessee fans.
But,
Tennessee fans.
How do you solidify a number 1 seed?
You sound like all the Tennessee fans
in February
in my mentions.
Like,
well, because you got to think he's projecting the bracket as if Selection Sunday was today, and also with a little bit of he is projecting what he thinks Tennessee is going to do along the way, and as long as Tennessee does not pee down its leg with however many games you have left, you have LSU, you have Vanderbilt at home, you are better than Kentucky. Like, these are games you should win, and if you win those games, you are going to end up with the number 1 seed. So I do realize that it's a little weird to say solidified in early February, and I was surprised that he used that word as well, but I think it speaks to what Tennessee has done to this point with its resume and their quad 1 wins. I think there were only 2 teams at the time who had more quad 1 wins than Tennessee, and you're projecting a little bit as well, and he expects them, with what they've done already, with what they have left on the schedule and what people are anticipating them doing the rest of the way, you should be in position to have the 1 seed, one of the 1 seeds. So, but Joe Lunardi is a trigger button for Tennessee fans. Tennessee fans, I've noticed, do not like Joe Lunardi, and the bracketology doesn't matter, this, that, and the other. Okay, if it doesn't matter, then quit clicking on the bracket projections, because you know why Joe Lunardi has the platform that he does? Because people are curious as to where their teams are projected to make the NCAA tournament. You know why the writers that cover the teams write about what Joe Lunardi and Jerry Palm and others are saying? Because you all click on it. So if it doesn't matter this early and y'all are tired of Joe Lunardi, stop clicking on it, and then we'll stop writing about it.
What did Joe Lunardi do for fans to not like him? He doesn't select the teams. He doesn't.
But
not his decision.
Somebody will have to help me on the text box, but within the last 2 years or so, I think he chose in his projections a team over Tennessee for the final 1 seed or the final 2 seed. Remember, he had a back and forth with Tennessee fans recently within the last 2 to 3 years. It was after Tennessee had some success in the SEC tournament. Maybe it was the year they won the tourney in Tampa. Somebody needs to help me refresh my memory on the text box. I'm sure somebody out there remembers. But he kind of got into it with Tennessee fans because Tennessee did something at the end of the season in the SEC tournament to bolster its resume, and Joe Lunardi did not take it into consideration and then kind of got into a back and forth with them. So that is why fans are hot with Lunardi this time around. But I was going to say that, to Vol fans' point, I did feel like when I looked at the bracket and all the SEC teams that were projected to be in, felt like they were pretty spaced out within the bracket, which I thought because I was thinking the same thing. He had 13 in, and then he was also riding. This was going into Saturday with the surge that Arkansas was on and hosting Alabama on Saturday. The thought was that a 14th SEC team could be projected in if Arkansas had been able to beat Alabama. So I was thinking all these SEC teams are going to make it. They're going to end up playing one another, and I was kind of looking at the bracket, and I thought they were spaced out pretty well.
I mean, I look at Joe Lenardi, I look at Heather Dinich the same way this past season with the college football playoff. Like, those folks have sources, and those sources are giving them information that influence their projections. And they're just a messenger. They're not picking the teams. And then I think they get some hate. And then just like any human, if you get some hate, man, you're going to defend yourself. You're going to pop back a little bit. And I think the moment they say anything back is when they get pounced on. I don't think that's fair. Like, I just think they're relaying the message and projecting what they think the decision makers would do. I understand getting on the decision makers, and if the decision makers has a Twitter account and you want to pop off at them, that makes more sense than popping off at Joe Lenardi or Heather Dinich. It just never made any sense to me. Now, like there's an AP voter out there. Excuse me. There's a individual that voted for the NFL MVP, and that person voted Lamar Jackson fourth. Now, if you want to pop off at him, pop off at him because he actually influenced the outcome of the MVP race.
Like Ichiro Suzuki was one vote shy of being a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. Him and Derek Jeter both were one vote shy. Get on to those type of people that just want to go against the trend or go against what others are saying.
Yeah. Turkey Man, what's your take of Tom Brady as color man in the Super Bowl? Greg Olsen is better, in my opinion. But Greg Olsen is supposed to be better because Greg Olsen has been doing it longer. Tom Brady is more accomplished, but this is his first year doing it. And let's see how much he improves from his first year to his second year. But Greg Olsen is better, in my opinion.
It didn't help the game was a bad game. It wasn't a very entertaining football game.
But, I mean, I tend to, and I try to have grace in critiquing or, like, just anything. I try to have grace, man, because I think that's needed, and I try to be the change that I kind of want to see in the world. So I try to have more grace, but I do understand why folks look at Tom Brady and go, he don't have it.
Well, and it doesn't help that his contract is worth $375 million over insane. 10 years. Like he's not that. And it was whatever on Sunday. I didn't think he was bad per se. I also didn't. He didn't move the needle in a positive way either for me.
I just don't lock into the color analyst like other folks. And I think it's because I kind of do it myself. Like I look at the game like I'm watching so I got invited to a Super Bowl party. And I was like, well, I kind of just want to watch the game because I don't want a bunch of people talking to me. I want to watch the game. I want to enjoy the game, see the X's and O's of it. Like that's how I watch the game. And so because I've played it and understand it, I don't rely on the color analyst, maybe like some other people that may not have watched the game or see me play the game. I don't need to necessarily be all that entertained from the color analyst. Like, let me know what you see. Like, I like Tony Romo because of like his eye and his ability to kind of explain it. I think Greg Olsen does a great job, but I just don't put a lot of weight on it like some other people. And that doesn't make the other people wrong. It's just like my personal preference. So, yeah, Greg Olsen I thought would have been better, Turkey Man. And I understand the criticism that Tom Brady has gotten. It was his first year. Let's see what he does next year. It's not easy. No, it ain't easy at all. Like I did high school a couple of years ago with Brian Rice, and I had to get used to that. And it's not easy at all. And I mean, I'm listening to over the last 2.5 years, listening to Pat Ryan on Vol Network, and Jeff Francis do it, and like it's not easy at all, especially when you are doing it with this offense, because it has to be quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I give those guys grace because I understand how difficult it is. My bad. My turn for a long-winded answer there, Ben. How about that? Nelson from Jackson says, "Preach, Ben. I'm so tired of hearing our fans saying rat poison and clickbait." Listen, man, we are great to engage with our fan base.
I just don't get, like, why people get so upset about projections. Projections. They cover the sport. They share what they think. And at the moment, they think Tennessee has solidified a number 1 seed. Joe Lunardi, like I had somebody in my mentions say, who cares? We just need to focus on Oklahoma. Joe Lunardi doesn't play for the Tennessee basketball team. He doesn't have to focus on Oklahoma.
We don't.
He reacts to what Tennessee does. I cover the storylines around Tennessee basketball. Right now, one of the big storylines is that Tennessee is in good position to secure the first number 1 seed in program history. Would I be doing my job adequately if I was not talking about the fact that they are in position to secure the first number 1 seed in program history? I would not be. And I don't play for the basketball team either. I wish I could. That'd be fun. I might be able to knock down an open shot here or there if nobody put a hand in my face like Oklahoma was refusing to do against Chaz Lanier. I absolutely could have made a 3 against Oklahoma on Saturday with how lazy they were in switching and sagging off of Chaz Lanier for some reason. I understand wanting Tennessee to shoot the basketball, but I don't know that I want Chaz Lanier shooting without any pressure or giving him all the space that they gave him. But, like, they're basketball projections that have no impact on how Tennessee plays. And it's not Tennessee's players or coaches tweeting about it, posting about it, writing about it. It's almost March Madness, which garners a lot of interest, and there's going to be a lot of projections. I don't know why that triggers people so much. It's the same thing with the college football playoffs. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The players and coaches aren't the ones writing and talking about it.
Point taken, Ben McKee. Last night, Clemson beat North Carolina by 20 points. Hubert Davis is in trouble. You mentioned Oklahoma and their coach, who was the coach at Loyola Chicago that beat us a couple years ago. His team looks checked out. That program looks like they are headed towards a new direction. You got players during the game telling Tennessee players to stop.
We're good.
Like,
leave us alone.
Leave us alone.
And that was, I thought the effort was awful. I thought they were a poorly coached basketball team as well. I did not understand for the life of me what they were trying to do defensively, switching everything. And it seems like Tennessee was actually a bit confused by their switches because they couldn't tell whether they were dropping into a zone or they just were not switching very well. That's how poor they played and how little effort they gave. I mean, just the lack of urgency on switches was just baffling to me. Chaz coming off of screens and nobody on his hip, or if they were switching with Chaz in a screen, the opposite defender just not stepping up and putting a hand in his face and Chaz firing away. I mean, I mean, Felix and Igor and Cade just dominated the paint. So I was stunned at where Oklahoma basketball was on Saturday. Just I thought they gave very little effort, if any, and I thought they were very poorly coached.
Yeah, they are headed for a new coach. It seems like for sure, man. Tennessee offensively, it looked like it was too easy for them. Dalton Connect was traded to the Charlotte Hornets. The trade was rescinded. He's back with the Lakers. He did not look happy last night versus the Jazz. And listen, he's not supposed to be happy. He's not supposed to be happy. But you've covered Dalton. You've spoke to Dalton. I've spoke to Dalton a couple times. And this is the tough part of being a professional athlete. It's the business side. But we know his character, and he's a loyal dude, man, super loyal. And you look at how he carried himself when he was at Tennessee. So I know he's hurting. I know he is not happy about the situation, and I just don't see how he plays for the Lakers. Like, at the end of the season, man, I see him getting a trade and going somewhere. I don't see him playing for the Lakers long term beyond this year, just because you got Luka, you got Austin Reeves. I mean, you kind of don't need Dalton if you got Luka and Austin Reeves. So I hope he goes somewhere that's not Charlotte, even though Charlotte's closer for us Tennessee fans to go and be able to watch him. But I at least want to watch him on TV a little bit too if we can't go to the games.
Yeah, I really feel for Dalton. I believe that he was okay with being traded. Maybe would have liked a better destination, but I don't know that JJ Redick is the best coach to lead Dalton. And I think Dalton was very content with moving on from that situation. And first-year head coach JJ Redick, and how maybe JJ has catered to Bronny at times, and with them being in the same rookie class, Dalton can handle the pressure of LA. I have no doubt in my mind. Pressure does not get to Dalton, but I don't know that LA is the best situation for Dalton in the sense of everything that comes with the Lakers right now. And I realize, like, the Lakers are one of the two prominent brands in the NBA, in all of sports, with the Celtics. But it's just there's more hoopla surrounding the Lakers right now because of LeBron James and Luka Doncic and Bronny and JJ Redick. And I don't know that Dalton jives with that the best. And I do believe that he was perfectly fine with being traded away from JJ Redick, even if it was to Charlotte. So I feel for him in that sense. Obviously, there's the business side that stinks, in the sense of, like, coming to the realization that, oh, this team traded me away and now I'm back with them. Like, that has its own merit. But I do think there's an extra layer that involves JJ Redick, that this is a very unfortunate development for Dalton.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have the coach treating a player like Bronny better than Dalton, or different than Dalton, in the favor of the other player like Bronny, it's just
and like, you saw the leaked footage. Potentially, it was going around social media quite a bit a couple of weeks ago of JJ getting on Dalton pretty good.
He called timeout because Dalton didn't run the play.
Correct, and that's perfectly fine. That's coaching. I'm not necessarily pointing that out. From some that I have spoken to, it seems like maybe that's 24/7 and just maybe a bit over the top, and maybe playing favorites at different times as well.
Yeah.
Catering when catering does not need to be catered at certain points.
Yeah. Well, Dalton, he'll be okay. I mean, I think it's understandable that he feels the way he feels right now. It's the first game back. It just happened. The team tried to trade you. Like, And he needs to understand that it's not the players that tried to trade him. So if you want to feel that way versus GM, that's cool. But it wasn't like the players tried to trade you. So
the guy that he, unfortunately for Dalton, the guy that he got along best with on the Lakers is now playing for the Dallas Mavericks. He loved playing with Anthony Davis. Yeah. Loved it. And unfortunately now he is no longer with the Lakers.
Yeah. So we'll be keeping up with Dalton Connect. Hope nothing but the best for him. It's a weird situation. Stinks for him. But Double J says my only problem with Joe Lunardi is that he's a goofball and he looks like Jerry Lewis and he gets too much airtime. Dang, Double J. Nelson from Jackson is crazy because if Joe doesn't say anything about Tennessee, then he's a clown, doesn't know ball. But if he mentions us, it's clickbait. Yeah, man, we really get in our emotions and feels about our squad. We really get in our feels. That's how it is. That's how it is. Tennessee versus Kentucky tonight. Tennessee versus Vanderbilt at the end of the week. What do you take away? What needs to happen in this basketball game, Ben, for Tennessee to get the dub over Kentucky? Get some revenge.
Not shoot 11 of 45 from three. I'd start there.
Is it the 45? That's the big problem, or the percentage?
The percentage.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it coming out of that loss. I don't know what you do when a team is packing the paint as much as Kentucky was packing the paint. They were not allowing you to shoot other shots than threes. To me, I don't know about you, Swain. I'd rather keep shooting the open three that they were giving them than when there's boxes and elbows, four guys in the paint, forcing the ball to somebody on the block and just being swarmed immediately by three guys. I'd rather continue to try and just hope that a miracle happens and I start to make shots. I never brought this up on the show. We had that conversation on that Thursday after they lost on Tuesday 2 weeks ago, and Jemai Meshack spoke Thursday or Friday, and I asked him what you and I were talking about on that Thursday show. Like, what in the world do you do in that situation? What adjustments could have been made? Jemai had a better answer than Rick, and Rick may have just been keeping it close to the vest with speaking to the media, but Rick was like, that's a great question. I don't know. At some point, you just got to kind of have to knock down shots. It was a very vague answer from Rick. Jemai, I thought, gave a great answer of you can be better in transition. That was something that I had not thought about, because if you are getting defensive stops, which everybody talked about the 11 of 45, if Tennessee would have played to the strengths of its roster, which is defense, Tennessee still wins that game. It was a very poor defensive night. And if it was not a poor defensive night, if it was an average defensive night, Tennessee beats Kentucky in Knoxville, but there were open threes after open threes allowed. Kentucky shoots 12 of 24, 50%. And you pair that with the 11 of 45, and you end up with the result that you ended up with. But I thought Jemai gave a great answer of thinking a bit outside of the box and at least mentioning something that I had not thought of, and neither one of us mentioned it on the show that Thursday, about being more intentional about getting out in transition, being better in transition, and that starts with getting defensive stops so you can get out and run. And if you are getting out in transition and you are getting out and running, that prevents Kentucky from getting its half-court defense set up. That prevents them from getting camped out in the paint, where if they're knocking down open three after open three and scoring at will on the offensive end, and Tennessee is having to take the ball out under the basket, Kentucky's able to get back and set up a player on each block and at the top of the lane on each side as well, create a box. So I thought that was an interesting thought. So that's where it's got to start, is you've got to be able to come out and get more defensive stops than it did, and then hopefully that allows you to get out in transition and find more offense there, because I imagine Kentucky is going to try and do the same thing. Now, Tennessee has shot it better since the Kentucky game. I'll be curious to see if Kentucky adjusts because Tennessee has shot it better than it did in that Kentucky game. but I imagine they're still going to try and force Tennessee to beat them by making jump shots from the perimeter. But if it can get out and run in transition, then that takes pressure off of having to knock down those shots like it needed to in the Kentucky game. And it also allows you an opportunity, because Kentucky's not setting up its half-court defense, it allows you to get it to Cade Phillips or Felix Akpara in the paint and allow him to get a paint touch here or there and potentially score off of it. Or if the defense collapses, then they can kick out for an open three. So that's where it's got to start. You got to shoot better. It's that simple. But it also has to be better defensively, because as bad of a shooting night as it was, if you play to your normal defensive standard, you still win that game.
In Tennessee's win against Kentucky, loss against Kentucky, win against Florida, win against Missouri, Tennessee had a total of 12 fast break points. Tennessee had 0 fast break points against Missouri and won the way they won against Missouri, which is impressive. Tennessee only had 5 fast break points against Florida, only 7 against Kentucky. Fast break points, I think, are very, very important when you're not shooting the ball from the perimeter, like Meshack said. Also, getting to the free throw line too. Like, see that ball go through the rim, pick up some fouls. Be aggressive driving the ball to the basket, pick up some fouls, get yourself in a one-on-one situation, getting that bonus, and see the ball go in the basket too. That could help with a poor shooting performance. But yeah, man, the transition, those fast break points, man, we gotta really hone in on that and try to improve that number. Even though you won the way you won against Missouri, but 0, I've never seen that in basketball. I've never seen that. But really good point by Jamal Meshack. All right, let's get to the phones. Go ahead.
After the phones, we need to mention the Lady Vols win over UConn before we get out of here.
Okay. Good morning.
Hey, guys. It's Rusty.
What's up, Rusty?
Well, Ben has a really good point, the way that Kentucky defended us last time. And something that entered my mind was the last 5 minutes of that ball game, we went to the 5-out lineup that we have the option to use that we haven't used much, with Milicic at center. And Kentucky and that's when we outplayed them the last 5 minutes of the ball game. We just couldn't close the gap enough. But it forced Kentucky to guard the perimeter with everybody. They couldn't slag off in the paint. I wonder if tonight we don't see that lineup a ton more. That way you can spread the floor with all 5 guys and open up driving lanes.
Yeah, I mean, Igor.
And the way Kentucky plays offense, they were playing with a point center most of the ball game that night on offense, and forcing Akpara to guard from the top of the key or from half court in, because their center was bringing the ball to court, and it was kind of getting us defensively in a mismatch too. And Igor defending that guy in that situation would be much more comfortable. It seems like that would be something that would be in the repertoire tonight. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jay.
Yeah, no, you got it, man. Sorry for interrupting you. Like, the best lineup for Tennessee offensively is Gainey, Z, Chaz, Igor, and Felix
and Akpara.
Yeah, so
that is the lineup. I just don't know if against the way Kentucky wants to play against us, it is. You know what I mean? I guess matchup centric.
Yeah, I get it, but what I was getting to is, instead of changing the lineup with Igor at the 5, how about we just play better with that lineup? How about, and you have seen Igor play a ton better since he has been back from missing a game due to illness. I mean, his ability to shoot the basketball, and then his driving ability, and he can finish at the basket. That opens up the paint, I think, for Felix to be able to operate as well too. And then you have Chaz being able to cut on back screens, being able to get to the basket, which he did more of versus Oklahoma. Like, I like that lineup that I just mentioned, probably more than just moving Igor, because Felix on the court makes Tennessee defensively really tough when it comes to protecting the paint, because he's either changing shots or he's blocking shots. The weird part is like where do where does Meshack fit in to the equation? Because offensively, like, we're not as good, but defensively, you're not as good, but you're still pretty damn good. So
you're gonna need his defense tonight.
Oh, for sure. You definitely.
But now, although no Jackson Robinson, does that allow defense to clamp up, Tennessee to clamp up a little bit more defensively if you have to go to a lineup with Meshack not on the floor?
Yeah, good point. No, good point.
One less player you have to worry about. But there's still a lot, even without Robinson, there's still a lot of firepower to worry about. And so I would imagine Meshack needs to be a part of it. But we've seen the last couple of poor offensive outings when the offense has struggled, what Rusty's bringing up about the Kentucky game, and then the first half against Missouri to the second half of that game, Meshack has been kind of the common denominator of being removed from the offense and the offense starting to find success.
Yeah. Rusty,
there's a direct correlation. I don't know that I think the offense would probably run just as well if you swapped Meshack and Okpara and played the small ball lineup. Because, I mean, you know, the problem is the lineup with the starters with Meshack and Okpara, that's two guys that's going to have their defender slag way off and not want to come out of the paint. So driving lanes aren't there. But if it's just one of them on the court, either or, that makes it much harder to defend us. But you're right, without Okpara on the court, you lose the rim protector. But like I was saying with Kentucky pulled Okpara and forced, when he was on the court, he was guarding outside the three-point line the entire ball game. He wasn't able to protect the rim because of the way they were operating their offense. It's a good chess match with our lineup versus what Pope wants to do.
We'll see how Rick adjusts tonight.
And I think
it'll be interesting. It's gonna be a fun one.
Hey, Rusty, thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate you,
that'll be
Rusty.
good.
Hope you and the fam are doing well out there on the West Coast. It's also good, Swaino, in the sense that this matchup is really, and the last couple as well, with them tweaking the lineup in the different manners that they have. All of these games, theoretically, is going to help them for the NCAA tournament. Because I would imagine if I was coaching against Tennessee in the NCAA tournament, I would try to defend them the same way Kentucky has this season. And so this being able to play them again and test different lineups. I know you're trying to win tonight, but ultimately we know what Tennessee basketball is trying to accomplish, and that's make the Final Four. And being able to play Kentucky again, a defense that I feel like teams will try to replicate in the tournament against Tennessee, being able to test different lineups, whether it's Meshack at the 5, whether it's Felix at the 5 and Meshack is off the floor, Gainey in for Meshack with whoever else on the floor. Like these different lineups we've seen recently, being able to test them against this defense, which, again, I think you'll see a lot of in the NCAA tournament, theoretically it should only make you better for when March rolls around.
Yeah. Lady Vols versus UConn. I mean, it's Tuesday. The game happened Saturday, which seems like forever considering they played a game on Sunday. But it has to be mentioned how big the win was for the program. Beating UConn, a team that was in the top 5, a rivalry game that Tennessee hasn't been able to win in almost a decade and a half. So, actually, more than that? I mean, you played 11 times.
2007.
Almost 2 decades. So, I watched every second of it. It was a great performance by Tennessee late, finding ways to make the necessary plays they didn't make in close losses early in the season. The same plays they didn't make against LSU, but they were able to make it versus UConn at home. So, man, it was a great win for Kim Caldwell's program.
It was just really awesome to see the excitement back for the program. I know that there has been excitement prior to this year's UConn game, but it just really seemed to come to a head last Thursday night, and it was just awesome to see the former players in attendance. the environment, the atmosphere inside of the arena. It was just very cool to watch on television. Wish I would have been at the game, although directly after the game got a little interesting with that storm that came through. My family had to wake up the two little boys and get in our Harry Potter closet over here while that storm came through, because the news was saying, hey, this is going to turn into a tornado at any moment. And it was like right next to my house. I know Jennifer Morris was impacted by it as well. So that was an interesting night, but really cool for the Lady Vols to pull that one off. And unfortunate that since we are getting to talk about it, they have since lost to LSU in frustrating fashion after really hanging in there tough for so long. And they fell apart in the final minute. And it looked like it was on the players as well, because the coaching staff was jumping up and down, trying to get them to do this and that. There was a disconnection somewhere in that final minute where the coaching staff was really confused about why the players weren't doing something. You
tell by their
reactions and actions on the sideline. But the Lady Vols are coming. It feels like they're back. I'm holding off on just flat out saying it because the Lady Vols aren't truly back until they're in the Final Four. But it feels like they've got their swagger back. I think that's at least fair to say. It's always fair to say that Jennifer Morris always has her swagger. She never has to get it back because she always has her swagger. And she will put you in your place if you need to be put in your place, which is great if you are looking for a new home, if you're looking to sell a home, do whatever you want to accomplish in real estate. Jennifer Morris can help you out, and she's going to get the job done for you no matter what. So for all of your real estate needs, please reach out to Jennifer Morris of KellerWilliamsRealty.com. And when you do, she can inform you about the nickname that she gave Kim Mulkey in my text messages. Pretty good nickname for old Kim Mulkey down there in the bayou. But I'll let Jennifer inform you of that nickname when you give her a call to talk about all of your real estate needs.
Oh boy, I have to reach out to Jennifer and see what it is, man. Oh man, 865-255-03. Swain Event fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Alpha Wildlife, your number one removal company for wildlife here in Tennessee, parts of South Carolina as well. AlphaWildlife.com is their website. Go see what they can do for you. If you have critters in your home, attic, crawl space that you need to get rid of, let the veteran-owned Tennessee fan come out and address the issue and fix the problem. They've done it for me. They can do it for you. That is AlphaWildlife.com. Man, I really hope Thursday we can come back here and talk about a win over Kentucky. That would be great. That would be awesome. Quiet in football right now, but recruiting continues to be the lifeline of the program as we get closer and closer to spring ball. But it's baseball, it's basketball right now for Tennessee. Softball started their season, but the winning continues here on Rocky Top. So for Ben McKee, I'm Jason Swain, and hopefully Ben will go get one.
I'm going to go talk to Tony Vitello.
My man Tony Vitello.
I'll tell him you said hello.
Yeah, please do, man. That's my guy. Ben, take it easy, my friend.
Appreciate you.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue. Peace and much love. You're out.